And good morning. Welcome to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio in the heart of downtown La Crosse. I am Dave, and that is Matt, the owner of the Recovery Room. And we're kind of like the two guys in the buddy films that you grew up watching in the 1980s. You knew that there was something going on. You couldn't tell what was going on until you saw the sequel. And, well, the guy in the first movie ended up dead. But that is going to be, Matt, something that we're going to attempt not to do this morning, and we're not going to attempt to kill each other, step on ourselves, or ruin and besmirch in any way, shape, or form the good names that we have made for each other over the last, 10 to 20 years. I'm speaking for you, of course, not myself personally, whose name is probably is probably mud in a lot of different ways, but we'll see what we can do. We've got a fun show coming up today.
You and me both, brother. I guess I'd start out with saying happy Valentine's Day. I got you a catalytic
I love
converter.
You. Thank you.
Yeah. And then I guess I'd say we're more lawns of, trains, planes, and automobiles. No matter what, we'll find our destination. We'll be just fine.
I like that. Trains, planes, automobiles. I was kind of going weekend at Bernie's. And
I'd see that.
So, and that was sort of the reason that I stumbled upon that joke. See, we missed Chad, the producer, writing us these jokes. Yesterday, I had a good one about the cocaine bear taking a shit. That was something that I really worked hard on over the weekend.
Looking forward to see that, by the way.
Me too, actually. I thought over the weekend that Evan and Brian / Hollywood were going to drag me to that movie, kicking and screaming. Turns out they just wanted to watch some football. Weekend at Bernie's, though, this is an interesting one for me because you look at Weekend at Bernie's, and the first movie, the premise of it seems like ridiculous. Somebody dies, and then you've got a couple of folks taking this dude around. They put him up in a car. They take him to the beach. At what point does rigor mortis set in? Apparently, they never talked about that.
Never happens.
There was the complete flushing of bodily fluids we never saw. Okay, but I'm willing to put number one in a category of itself, all right? That was the 1980s, and we knew that, in the 1980s, things went a little bit sideways. But Weekend at Bernie's 2, that's what I just can't go with, because what did they do with this guy over the course of time between Weekend at Bernie's 1 to Weekend at Bernie's 2? How did he stay in such good shape? I mean, the embalming process, I don't even think would keep him that good.
I guess the freezers must have worked really, really well in the 80s, a lot better than they do now.
That's a good point.
I just remember him being an asshole of a boss, and they got invited to go to his house, and the hitman comes in the first one, and the next thing you know, I'd live it up at his party too, I guess, if I had to. Hey, he's alive for me for this week.
Listen, if you can go a week without a body decomposing on you, I think
in the Caribbean. Well,
in the Caribbean, I think that probably a lot of these whodunits that we've had over the last, 10 or 15 years with people, taking their wives or husbands apart and looking for trash cans to put them in, they probably would have looked at that as some sort of a guidebook.
I guess we did have our own freezer problem here in French Island a couple years back where dad put his mom in the freezer. So I guess, it is real life.
I heard about that. Yep. I heard about that. All right, boys and girls, we got a big one coming up today here on the Sports Carnival. Again, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios, powered by the Recovery Room. Matt Janus, UWL head football coach, going to jump aboard, join us at about 8:30 this morning. We'll talk to Matt, get his thoughts here, Matty 1, Matty 2, on the Super Bowl, what we just saw. I know that Matt didn't like the Eagles or the Chiefs. He was not happy for either of these teams to make an appearance in the Super Bowl. What did he think? I saw more and more about those turf conditions, the field conditions yesterday. Again, I was watching it downstairs at the Recovery Room, so I didn't see a lot of the slipping and falling, but players were just going crazy, and now the media is going crazy. One thing, though, that I've got to push back on is this. We look at football players and say, well, they're the toughest. They play in all the conditions. If it's snowy at Lambeau Field and the tundra is frozen, then we like it. So don't football players have to get used to playing in really bad conditions? And if that is the case, what's the big deal? It's just another football game with bad field conditions. Welcome to Soldier Field. You're a Bears fan. That shit's horrible.
Horrible. They need to put a grass turf in there eventually. That's obviously one of the reasons why I think the Bears are looking to move to Arlington too, so they can actually own their own stadium instead of dealing with the city of Chicago, the Parks Department, the city of Chicago. The one thing I will say about this is every player on the Eagles came out and said that they did not lose that game just because of the surface. I'll also throw this out there. Both teams played on that shitty effing surface.
Yes. And that's where I go with this. I'm like, okay, so I saw guys slipping around, and I'm thinking about all the rain games, all the snow games, all the times in which you play football in inclement weather, right? And that's why we love football games, because they're tough, they're gritty. They play outdoors, not baseball. They don't stop it when it rains. Dude, the grass was slippery. I get it. You can't bend the edge the same way. And maybe you slipped on a route. Whatever.
Well, I also did see there were reports coming that not only did Mahomes and Kelsey change their cleats at halftime, but numerous teams, like I heard there was piles of just shoes, just different cleats coming in. So I know at least the Chiefs changed up, whether Hassan Reddick and the Eagles didn't, because they didn't get to obviously Patrick. So who knows what happened on the Eagles sideline. They were out coached.
Yeah, they were outcoached. They were outclassed. No, I mean, listen, it was a topic and I get it. And people were definitely taking exception to it, which I think is fair because players are looking at it as an opportunity to win a Super Bowl and you don't want bad field conditions. But again, this is football and we've got to get used to that stuff. Jeff Zelke, Matt, is checking in this morning and he says on our YouTube page that during Weekend in Birdies, they injected Bernie with the same stuff they injected Cher with.
Oh, I would go with, the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, they don't look as good as Cher, though.
No, but they're still alive somehow. That whole huge bodily blood transfusions that they go through out in Switzerland or wherever. I guess, maybe they pulled it off with Bernie somehow in the Caribbean.
I guess. I don't know. To me, the temperatures outside, that just would have really, really been a hard one for me to swallow. Boone's Farm's checking in. Boone's Farm, I believe still in West Salem, says, hey, it's Boone's Farm. Happy Singles Awareness Day. We said happy Valentine's Day to start. Happy Singles Awareness Day. Okay, I can get on with that one too.
Everybody's got to go drink someday in a bar if you're alone. You're never alone in a bar. I'll put it to you that way. You're not, especially on Valentine's Day.
Well, that's going to be something. We'll see. Coming up today at 11, we got lunch starting at the Recovery Room. Ooh, is there going to be some great specials? I was sitting with Ty last night. We were doing the bingo, and this is getting bigger and bigger every single week. So if you were with us at bingo last night, thank you so much. If you weren't, next Monday, 7 to 9-ish, we'll have another rousing game of bingo with Dave behind the microphone, which makes it all just work. And during this bingo session, I get Ty coming over and he's jotting down the specials for upcoming today. There is going to be a surf and turf special with fried steak tips, a horsey sauce, and then there's going to be, what is it? The sushi.
The sushi egg rolls.
Yeah, the sushi tempura egg rolls. Going to be awesome. Awesome stuff. Come on down, see us starting at 11 o'clock today for lunch and really enjoy some of the fine specials that your guys come up with, which is one of the reasons that I think everybody loves the Recovery Room. You make it interesting. It's not always the same. It's a neighborhood bar, but it feels like a 4-star restaurant. I know you hate the compliments, but there you go. You're just getting another one.
All I just keep saying is you surround yourself with wonderful people. Great things can happen, and that's just all we try to do every day. Is obviously we can't make everybody happy, but nobody can in life, and especially on a Valentine's Day. If you can make your other person happy, try your best.
Yeah, try to do your best. I've got an interesting Valentine's Day question, Matt, that I will pose to you and the audience members when we come back. It's one of 2 poll questions that we've got for you this morning. Take one of them at the Twitter feed, at the Sports Carney. You take the other one if you're a member of our Facebook group page. When we come back, we'll debut both of these poll questions. We will also begin to talk about what is becoming a really big story, not a great story, but a really big story in college basketball. This is the Sports Carnival, and we are going to be having Matt Janus on as well at 8:30, so stay tuned. Back in about 60 seconds. What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you? And welcome back to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Dave and Matt Ellens here with you. Yeah, good morning. Top of the morning, Prost and all that shit. If you're already up and drinking, perhaps you are. Perhaps you're getting at it early today because it's Singles Awareness Day, or maybe you're just getting yourself ready and liquefied for a nice Valentine's Day. Matt, do you have any big Valentine's Day plans this evening? Do you and Ashley have any big Valentine's Day plans?
Typically, we do not do Valentine's Day on Valentine's Day just because it's always being service industry and everything else. We try to get out and enjoy the night instead of just being so chaotic and just kind of do our own little side thing. That's fair. I think that's a pretty good idea. I've got no plans for this evening. We've got some great lunch today that we'll be hoping to see a lot of our friends at, but otherwise I've got no big plans. I feel like maybe tonight is one of those nights where, for Singles Awareness Day, or perhaps just, Valentine's Day celebrating in memoriam, I should put on like a romantic comedy, like something, I don't know, maybe When Harry Met Sally, because that was a movie in my younger years that really stood out as
one of those good romantic comedies that you could actually be a guy and watch and not completely hate within the first 15 minutes. Billy Crystal was fan-fucking-tastic in that movie.
I agree with you 100%. I guess I'm more of with the whole Valentine's Day, I'd go with like Scent of a Woman.
Oh, great film. Great film. Hoo-ah.
Hoo-ha.
Hoo-ah.
It still has a little love story in it with, I believe it's Chris O'Donnell. And
it is.
It's a good little story, but I mean, it also gets you in the end too. And it's not necessarily a love story, but it's just one of those stories, and who doesn't enjoy the scent of the person you like being with?
What about As Good as It Gets? Because that's another one that's
it's been a while.
Sure, it's a love story, but not really. It's like the alt love story. So that's with Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt, right? Jack Nicholson plays a really, really neurotic writer who is a great writer, but it can't express himself or any way, shape, or form in person. But then, of course, meets Helen Hunt, and the rest is history. Yeah. It becomes as good as it gets.
Go and get some pancakes in the morning, I believe is how the end of the movie goes. It's a great movie all the way around. I remember the little fluffy dog.
Yeah, Jack. I don't know if it was pancakes or bread. They did go to a bread store.
Yeah, it was bread.
They went to a bread store.
Yes, sir.
All right, so I want to roll out, Matt, one of our 2 poll questions this morning. And if you're part of the Facebook group page, now 357 members strong, which, by the way, we're trying to get to 400 by the end of this week. And Matt will tell us maybe how we can get there before the show's over. But the poll question that we've got for our audience members here on our Facebook group page is simply this. What is the best Valentine's Day gift to give a Wisconsin sports fan? All right. And the ways that you can answer this poll question are as follows. Packers tickets, Bucks tickets, Brewers tickets, Badgers tickets to any sport. Maybe you're a hockey fan. Maybe you're a volleyball fan like Morning Wood. Maybe you're a football fan. Or, and Matt, I want you to consider this as well, because you know a lot of Wisconsin sports fans, the ability to forget that the Packers, Badgers, and Brewers might all miss the postseason. So if you were answering this as a Wisconsin sports fan, which I know that you're not a diehard Wisco sports fan, which would you like as a Valentine's Day gift? The Packers tickets, Bucks tickets, Brewers tickets, Badgers tickets, or the ability to forget the Packers, Brewers, and Badgers might all miss the postseason?
Well, with the way this year's going, I'm guessing everybody's going to go with your final choice, just to forget, especially with the way Badger basketball is continuing to go. Coach Gard probably should lose his job, as many people think. With the way, Aaron Rodgers coming out of his dark work or whatever today, I believe. So who knows whatever's going to happen there. Either way, it's just not looking great for Wisconsin sports this next year. A lot of that can change. The Brewers actually might have a pretty good team. I think they're picked to be second or third in the division. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I'd go with either the Badger tickets for sure. I'm a hockey fan. Bucks tickets, especially with Janus, you can never go wrong with that either, my friend.
All right, well, I'll tell you, Bucks tickets, 62% of the votes right now are coming in on Bucks tickets. We've got 18% of those responding saying the ability to forget the Packers, Badgers, and Brewers might miss the postseason. And then you've got Packers tickets, Brewers tickets, Badgers tickets, all receiving some votes. Now, let me switch gears and take you over to our to our Twitter feed at The Sports Carney. Again, if you want to follow us on social media across the board at The Sports Carney, that's on every social media platform. The question on our Twitter feed at The Sports Carney is this, because you mentioned Aaron Rodgers' name. Apparently, he's coming out of the darkness retreat to talk to Pat McAfee. See, I thought when we talked to Joe DeGuano yesterday, Green and Gold Insider, that he was beginning the 4-day darkness retreat just yesterday. So maybe the timeline for when he went into isolation, the hyperbolic chamber in which becomes Aaron Rodgers' new think tank, maybe we got the timeline wrong. But here is the question. If the Packers do move on from Aaron Rodgers, which decisions are going to start to be made sooner than later, guys. Franchise tag deadline's coming up in about a week. Today, it looks like the Raiders are going to release Derek Carr, which may make them serious players for
4 o'clock today.
Aaron Rodgers, which, yes, it looks like 4 o'clock today. They'll do that. If the Packers do move on from Aaron Rodgers, how many games do you guys and gals think they will win next season? The ways that you can answer this are under 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 10, or 10 plus. Matt, right now, 6 to 8 and 8 to 10 tied at 40% apiece. There are 20% of those, check it in, that say 10 plus games. And you know what's interesting? Aaron Jones, Packers running back Aaron Jones, when asked, I saw this yesterday. I caught this clip yesterday. When asked if the team would be ready to move on from Aaron Rodgers and hand over the reins to Jordan Love, Aaron Jones said yes. He said, this kid's been getting better and better, more and more confident every single season. This is the same kind of thing that Packers players were saying about Aaron Rodgers when Brett Favre was going through the vacillation of, will I or won't I retire? The same things that players were saying at the time about Rodgers, they're starting to say now about Jordan Love. Listen, I know that it's going to be a hard pill to swallow for Packer fans, especially those that love Aaron Rodgers. Our good friend, Jeff Schneider at Schneider Tax and Accounting, huge fan of Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, but a real big fan of Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be a tough pill to swallow, but at some point, it ends, right? You have to move on to the next guy, and it just might be this season, dude. I keep thinking that Rodgers is going to find a way to come back and say, no, we're going to give this one more shot. We're going to give it one more try, but this might be it, dude. So how many games do you think they win if he doesn't come back?
I can see it 6 to 8 is where you're at myself. Looking at it, I guess the other thing that's considering Jordan Love does come back. I guess at the same time,
well, Jordan Love will be back.
Well, you hope so, but you never know what's going to happen with the Packers. This is considering Jordan Love is as good as they say he does. At the same time, what else is Aaron Rodgers going to say? Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones going to say.
Sure.
It's exactly what everybody in Seattle said after Geno Smith took over, and they're like, we're going to ride Geno just because he's Russell. That's what they get paid to do. You have to be a team player. That makes sense. I've not seen much of Jordan Love. Nobody really has, but what we have seen, and it's all about coaching as well. So there's a good chance. I'd go 6 to 8. I wouldn't know if I'd go any further. If Rodgers does come back, they're always, I don't know. They have so much other issues going on with the Packers besides their quarterback position right now with the cap space problems. Bakhtiari, is he coming back? They don't have there's so much to worry about with the Packers. So 6 to 8, I'd say, is a pretty good solid bet.
Jeff Schneider from Schneider Tax and Accounting checking in and saying, I will have to drown my sorrows at the recovery room when Aaron Rodgers leaves. And listen, we'll welcome you there. We want to see you there, Jeff, so that you can help work off those sorrows. And to your point about Rodgers, the 6 to 8 wins without, I think that would be about right. Perhaps 6 to 8 wins. The Packers were 6-10 the first season with Aaron Rodgers. If memory serves me well, Rodgers' first season with Green Bay, the Packers went 6-10 coming off of the Brett Favre season. Here's what I think the Packers might be actually benefited by. And Jeff, this is where maybe 6 to 8 wins is low. I don't know. The Packers may be benefited by the fact that Matt LaFleur is a coach who comes from a certain system, right? Look at what Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, these guys do with system quarterbacks. And all quarterbacks are essentially system quarterbacks to a degree, but they run a certain kind of system that doesn't rely on the quarterback being Aaron Rodgers in order to make things happen. Not to say you can win a Super Bowl necessarily, but not saying that you can't. If Brock Purdy's, but if he's not hurt, who knows how that game works out against Philly, right? 100%. We just don't know. If Jimmy G doesn't get, banged up a couple of years ago, who knows? And for Sean McVay and the Rams, he got Jared Goff to a Super Bowl, right? He did. He won one with Matt Stafford, but he gets Jared Goff to a Super Bowl. So my point is, if you look at the LaFleur, McVay, Shanahan type systems, and if they worked exactly as the coaches designed and schemed, I don't know that Jordan Love is going to do a lot worse for the Packers than what Rodgers did this year. He actually might be a little bit more coachable in the respect that Matt LaFleur could then actually run his entire system.
You mean
right?
Actually listen?
Well, yes. And not just listen, but execute the exact game plan. Because Brock Purdy, and this is a good example, guys and gals, Brock Purdy's the last guy drafted in the NFL's draft. He was the Mr. Irrelevant, and look at how well he did. He wasn't trying to be anything other than exactly what the coach said to be. Here's what you're going to do. Here's the little things that we do. Here's how I'm going to help you get guys open and just put the ball where it needs to go. If Jordan Love can do that, I'm not entirely sure the Packers are worse than they were this year. Now, does that make them a postseason team or a playoff contender? No, but it would give you a building block to see how far this kid can come if you give him the right coaching, if you give him the right scheme. I don't necessarily love having to get rid of such a great talent. Rodgers is a great talent. He might be an asshole. I might not like him, but he still is a great talent. At the end of the day, you have to move on at some point, and maybe this year's the year.
Eventually, every team has to move on. I agree with you 100% on going with I guess we're just talking about offensive side of the ball. The Packers need to get better on defense, no matter who their quarterback is. And that was the main problem. And Aaron Rodgers, bad thumb, and injuries do happen. It's the NFL. If Jordan Love's as good as hopefully he is, you did a lot of debating with Chad in the past. Should they have let Jordan Love play a few more games this year or not in the past? When, the thumb was hurting. Still don't know what you're going to get, and we still don't know what Aaron Rodgers' intentions are. So,
and this is what makes this all just so crazy, because we don't know what the intentions of the quarterback in question, Aaron Rodgers, are. We don't know what the abilities of the guy that's coming behind him necessarily are. But I did see something else interesting, because we've looked back at this Aaron Rodgers saga in a lot of different ways. We've compared, and there's a rightful comparison to the way that Jordan Love may ascend to the way that Rodgers did ascend. Now, the sample size for both Rodgers and Jordan Love was really small when they ended up taking over for the Packers. Rodgers threw, and I don't have the full number of passes, but threw 59% completions with 1 touchdown and 1 pick before he ended up taking over for Brett Favre. Jordan Love has thrown for 60% completions with 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, possibly before he ends up taking over for Aaron Rodgers. So the stats are exactly the same, is what I'm saying. Same completion percentage, same touchdown to interception ratio. We essentially knew nothing about these guys really until we can see what they do on as a starter.
And both storylines involve the Jets as well.
God, isn't that crazy? I know. That's something that I think we'll end up having to take more of a look at. I know the Jets are looking to go all in. As a matter of fact, the Jets, according to multiple reports today, Matt, have already contacted the Green Bay Packers about Aaron Rodgers and his availability. I find it really hard to believe that he would end up going to the same exact place as Brett Favre. I find it really fucking hard to believe. But listen, stranger things have happened. Which is going to transition us, unfortunately, into a story that, it's always a little difficult to cover, but we need to because this is a really big sports story. When I say stranger things have happened, stranger things like in the state of New Mexico are happening in sports, right? The New Mexico State program has canceled the remainder of their season and is forfeiting all of their 6 remaining regular season games because of allegations of false imprisonment, harassment, and sexual misconduct by their players on another player. Now, I realize that college is a time for exploration and figuring out who you are. But fellas, what the shit is going on in New Mexico? This thing is just god awful.
It's disturbing.
And when I read some of the reports, I thought, wow, this is one of those situations and scenarios that thankfully we don't see a ton in sports, but when you do, you just absolutely cringe. This doesn't rise to the Michigan State scandal with Larry Nassar and what was going on with those gymnasts, but this thing sounds really bad, dude. And the player involved, who has not been named, the player involved that apparently made this report to police said that essentially this has been going on for some time at New Mexico State. This is not the first incident in which there has been some really, really terrible things, especially going on with the abuse part of this at New Mexico State. And I've got to ask you this, Matt, in the wake of these kinds of scandals, you never want to talk about a team or a program, a university, just losing the ability to engage in athletic competition. But depending on how this shakes out, could you see New Mexico State like losing their charter as a D1 team?
Not only that, I think, well, one, this is disturbing. If anybody goes on and reads the article, make sure you're prepared for it because it does get somewhat graphic what happened to this individual. It's just one of those sad statements sad things that happens in college sports still this day. Hazing is unbelievable. I believe the coaches are involved in this. There's some other, it might go up the chain. So there's criminal actions probably are coming as head. I believe that it was reported to the police department on campus and they failed to act on it the first time around, from what I remember reading this morning. So it is just a horrible situation for any kid, male, female, going to college, especially trying to just go and hang out and be part of the team, to just hazing and what was done to this
player. Yeah, right.
Is disgusting.
Well, and this is where, again, I know that college is a time for exploration, and I'm not trying to overlay, too much societal ill on this particular university, but this feels like a problem that goes way past just kids, right? Being kids. This is a kind of illness, man. And the things that we're talking about here with New Mexico State seem to only be able to happen in an institution, an area in which it's allowed to happen and allowed to fester. It reminds me a lot more of Penn State, right? The Jerry Sandusky situation and, Paterno just looking the other way. I didn't know what was going on. Get the fuck out of here. And one thing that I've never regretted saying, and I was on air at the time with Chad in Las Vegas on the show Over Under on CBS. I said at the time, I hope that Paterno died of shame. And I think that he did.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
I hope that somebody here feels the requisite amount of shame that they need to make them really reconsider exactly what their role in this was. And I'm talking coaches, athletic directors, trainers, because in order for this stuff to happen and go on, Matt, you really do need a culture of acceptance. Not to say that they went and promoted this type of behavior specifically, but you almost need an attitude of acceptance in order for this to take root. Otherwise, this doesn't happen. Think about your bar right now, okay? And if you're a business owner, Jeff, you work with ladies in your office, anybody that's working, if you know that the bosses, whomever they may be, are allowing a certain type of thing to happen, you feel possibly empowered to let things go on. If you are like some upskirt picture taker or whatever, or some grab asser, you might see some shenanigans happen with your bartenders, but you don't take any of that fucking nonsense.
No, we don't deal with it. Unfortunately, I've had to deal with that from people that I've worked for in the past that shenanigans did happen. I learned I quit that job, didn't want to work for those people anymore. And that's just, you learn not what to do as a human being, I guess, from some of those aspects. I guess, Dave, where this New Mexico state scandal kind of reminds me, if you want to call it a scandal, is similar to like any sorority or fraternity house where they have the hazing and unfortunately a kid ends up dying from alcohol binging or purging.
Yeah.
And that just happens all over campuses, all over the United States still today. So nothing really surprises me anymore, but I just don't know how these people can wake up in the morning and want to live a life like that, just hurting other people.
It's a really sordid affair, and it's unfortunate because, again, New Mexico State not having a good season by any stretch this year, going just 9-15 and 2-10 in the WAC under their first year coach Greg Hare. They are in for a world of hurt from the NCAA, I can imagine, because to me, this is one of those incidences that rises above the fray when you talk about sports in general, and you need to look at this from a holistic perspective. Now, Penn State didn't cancel football because of the whole situation with Jerry Sandusky, but they ended up vacating. How many of those dudes wins? How many Paterno wins did they have to end up vacating? I know that some of them ended up getting reinstated later, I think, but they had to give up a lot. They really did. They had to give up a lot, and it took that particular program, years to really get back, to any point of prominence.
It's a snowball domino effect. Once one starts, it keeps rolling, and heads are going to roll and shit's going to happen in New Mexico. That's for sure.
Well, it should. It really should, because that kind of thing, again, it goes beyond the pale. This is something that when you read it and you're a father of a kid that's essentially a college-aged kid,
sure.
An 18-year-old, it disgusts you.
Yep.
Anyways, one of those situations that unfortunately has to be covered because it is a big sports story. And I know people that are out there in the WAC conference and in the Mountain West. And when you hear these types of things, when you see these types of things, it rattles something inside of you that's kind of hard to shake at times. When we come back here on the Sports Carnival, this is one of our more fun times of the week. Matt, I know that you've enjoyed watching him on our YouTube feed, our Facebook feeds, our Twitch, our Twitter, and LinkedIn feeds. But now you get to actually see him in studio, in the Trauma Center studio.
Can't wait to talk to
He's our good buddy, Matt Janus, and he'll be joining us coming up here next on the Sports Carnival, again, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio. Stick around. Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home, or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate.
Hello, I am Don Francisco, and I roast and blend coffees for your pleasure and mine. My newest blend is Vanilla Nuts. Coffee so rich and so sweet, it tastes like the French Alps has dangled its in your cup of java. If you love coffee like I do, then you'll love Don Francisco's with a 135-year tradition. Because at Don Francisco's, if you're up all night, so are we.
We're back, Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios, powered by the Recovery Room. Our good friends at BetUS. Go to BetUS.com, enter promo code Carnival, and score 125% free play money on deposit. Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate, the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival, and somebody who, Matt, might be helping us out with the real estate deal coming up here very soon. Is knowledgeable. He is in with all of today's top analysts when it comes to real estate, and did such a great job for me because he helped sell my house in Stoddard in like no time at all. I say it was 2 days. He says it was a little bit more, but it felt like it was just absolutely no time at all. Kyle Cable is also a former member of the Eagles football team. Matt Janus, the Eagles head football coach, said he remembers Kyle Cable well as a Swiss Army knife. It's funny because, Matt, when we were talking to Mike Schmidt the other day, Mike was kind of waxing poetic about Kyle and talking about what a great, guy he was to have on the football team and how proud he was of all the things that he's doing. Now, Kyle's building like a real estate empire, okay? He's 25 years old. Makes me feel like I've completely wasted a large portion of my life because I'm seeing what this kid's doing, and I'm like, yeah, I think I missed the mark here. But that's why I love having him a part of the program because, hey, I can learn from him, and that's, that's something that UW kids, it seems, end up really doing after they leave the university. Matt, you put these kids through, a 4-year program, you help them become better adults, and then when they do become adults, enter our society, they're like really productive members of society too. So congratulations to the whole Eagles, staff and I would say administration for doing such a great job with these kids.
Yeah, they kick ass, don't they? I mean, and Kyle's one of them. Kyle's just so driven at a young age and driven, and he's going to run the world here shortly. He is. So he's going to completely take it over. He's got that kind of a drive. He's been awesome. It's awesome to have him in the area still and still being a huge part of this community.
Yeah, it really is. And I'll vote for him if he wants to run. He reminds me of Pinky in the Brain right now, though. You said he's going to take over the world. And I'm like, I think I've seen that one before a time or two. Hey, Matt, I want to ask you about the coming trip to Europe. I was catching a post of the Eagles football team on Instagram. I want to say it was the other day. By the way, follow the Eagles across social media. These guys are putting up really, really good content, and it's coming out all the time, which I just really, really love. So I see this post, and it at the time was a 100-day countdown until you guys are actually invading Europe and taking like 98% of the team, it feels like, plus all of your staff. So let's walk through that again. If folks are unfamiliar with what the Eagles football team is getting prepared to do, let's go back over that because they may not have heard exactly what is happening with you guys.
Yeah, so every 3 years, the NCAA allows for a team to take a foreign trip and do foreign competition. And so we were initially actually under Mike. We were actually set up to go to Germany. And then Mike took his new job, and then we were still planning on that trip, but then COVID happened and the world shut down, like literally kind of 2 weeks before we were supposed to take that trip. So we were really bummed. We kind of put it on the shelf, and then we got it going kind of last spring, got it going up again. We allowed the team to kind of to vote where they wanted to go, and Italy was the one that really just overwhelmingly was Italy. So we start piecing it together, and like when you take these foreign trips, there's some cost to the students. So I wasn't sure how many guys were going to go. And I wasn't sure, I think for like the Germany trip, I think it was like kind of around 40 and 40 guys signed up. And so I really wasn't sure on like what our numbers were going to be. And it ends up, we have a travel party of 98 right now.
Wow.
With players and coaches. And then we also have our parents going as well. So parents we reached out to our parents to be able to get signed up for it as well. So there is 40 plus parents going on this trip as well. So we are going to have a massive travel party. It's going to be absolutely awesome. And, with these foreign trips, then, we get a chance as a team. We get 10 extra practices in the spring with full pads. And then we're going to have at least 3 practices over there. And we're hoping to play. We're going to have one game for sure. And we're hoping to have a joint practice with another club here. So our guys, if you look at it, just off of spring ball, the guys going on that trip are going to get close to probably over 30 practices between April and May, which is going to be absolutely a huge benefit for our team, for them, and be able to get that more work over the spring. And then obviously the experience of going overseas, of getting a chance to tour around. We're going to Florence, we're going to Pisa, we're going to Rome, we're going to Anzio to just get a chance to be together with our team from a kind of a team bonding perspective. Is going to be so fun. I mean, I don't know if you've ever used the app Duolingo. I have been trying as much as I can. I'm just trying to speak Italian to at least have a clue of what I'm looking at when I'm over there. But no, it's starting to get real now. We posted that the other day about the 100 days, and it's like, you're just already starting to get really, really excited for that trip. I think our guys are as well. They did some huge fundraising. So a lot of them did earn some extra money for this, and they kind of put that towards this trip. So it's going to be really awesome, really excited. Like our whole group's going, and it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge from a team bonding perspective, like I said, too, especially in a year where we lost a lot of seniors. We did. We had a huge group of seniors that were a big foundation of this program over the last 4 or 5 years, and so to have new faces and to be able to go somewhere and put them in those type of leadership positions of already having to play a game, of already having all these practices is just going to be huge for our team and a huge jump start for 2023.
So that's something, and I'm talking to two Matts right now. I've got a Matt over my shoulder and a Matt in front of me, so I can't say Matt too much, or else you guys are going to jump all over me. This was one of those opportunities, from an outsider looking in, that seemed like it was, quote, a golden opportunity, because you did lose so many impactful seniors. And these just aren't regular seniors here, fellas. We're talking Joey Stutzman. We're talking about, your quarterback here in Cade Garcia. I mean, Kaiser Helterbrand is coming back, and thankfully that's the case. But you're losing a lot of impact players. This opportunity to really bond and get those extra spring practices, I have to imagine is invaluable. Now, if you come back from this trip and you think, man, we have really bonded together in such an interesting and a unique way, what are some of the ways that you plan to leverage that back into the regular season and or practices when they come back? Like, are you as a coaching staff going to be able to look at things from this, or is this the hope where you can sort of draw back from experiences in Italy and say, hey guys, remember when we did this and this and this? Let's use this now. I mean, how do you plan to basically bookend the season with this trip and use that as sort of either a teaching moment, a catalyst, or an inspiration?
Yeah, I mean, obviously just the huge springboard of going into the summer, right? And having by the time they get to their actual summer, which by the time they get back, it's essentially going to be June. So they're going to have June and July, off. We're planning on a majority of our team staying in the city of La Crosse. So they're going to have that as a springboard. And especially for some of these younger guys that we're going to get now scrimmage and game experience under their belt, which is what those guys need. We're not like, obviously it sucks to lose those seniors. It's not like a huge panic. We feel really good about the roster. We've recruited in the right spots to get those guys able to take over at this specific time. But just to have that experience under their belts of, okay, we've gone through 30 plus practices over the spring. We played in a game. We played against another opponent. We've scrimmaged each other quite a bit. Like, to get that type of experience, I think is going to be really invaluable. Because if you look at a lot of the Division III, and right now with our spring ball, like we only get 4 padded practices, and the rest of our practices by rule, the rest of the 15 that were allowed over the spring can only be helmets on. And we can't even really, you break that down even further. We really can't even in our padded practices do 11 on 11 type stuff. It's much more individual, fundamentally based. So to be able to get into that and to see, new players as they kind of step into new roles, and, especially as we feel really good about Brant Bowman at the running back position, but we have 3 really good freshmen in that group that had played a little bit last year as freshmen, but now to get those guys reps overseas and to get them, especially at that running back position, O-line, D-line position, that we really need to see those guys. It's just going to be a huge springboard here as we hop into the summer, and they should be able to just take off from an install perspective, from a scheme perspective. We should be able to fly right into camp here. And obviously as coaches too, like, it gives us opportunities to try new things, right? Like we spent a whole offseason gathering new ideas, fixing certain things that we felt are weak. Like that's all our staff is doing right now. Like we're going to have the defense staff's going to come to my office here, and as soon as I get off with you, and we're going to looking at certain things, looking at the schematics of, hey, this bunch set really got us. How can we teach it better? What do we need to install? We're putting a new front on defense. So we're going to be able to mess with our ideas as well, and be able to implement them. And so you talk about taking away things like, hey, we like this front. We thought we did. We went through these scrimmages. We did this game in Europe, and it's not as good as we thought it was, right? Sure. Or it's going to be really, really good. And so we're able to kind of take a lot of that away as coaches. There's some situational stuff we want. So there's all this stuff we want to work on as coaches too, that we get these extra practices, extra games to throw it at our guys.
I love this. This is just such a great opportunity for everybody, I can imagine. I'm really, really, really looking forward to seeing all of this unfold on social media, because I can't go with you, but I'll be watching from Instagram, from Facebook, and from Twitter. Again, talking to Matt Janus, UWL football head coach. Follow the Eagles football team and really the whole athletic department on social media, because they're doing a great job pumping out this content. Matt, I want to change gears with you while we've got you this morning and get your thoughts on Super Bowl 57. I thought this was a fantastic game. Really fun to watch. It worked out essentially the way that I thought it would in the scoring aspect. I knew that this game was going to be higher scoring than the odds makers had predicted on ESPN last week. I made my weekly play, and my weekly play was to go over 50.5 points. I was not sure that I was going to make a play on either team to win the game, and I didn't. I ended up not making a play on the Eagles or the Chiefs to win the game. Both Matt from the recovery room and myself both made our plays on BetUS to go over the total. That said, the one thing that I was really, really hesitant about making a play on was Patrick Mahomes, because this guy reminds me of the greats of all time in multiple sports. He reminds me a bit of the, Magic Johnson, Larry Birds in the NBA. The Tom Brady's, of course, come to mind in the NFL, Wayne Gretzky in hockey. There are certain players that are just so transformational, so special, that it's hard to bet against them. I mean, it really is hard to bet against them. And I was reticent to do so, and I'm glad that I didn't spend my money betting on Philadelphia, because my mind and my stat sheet said the Eagles should have won that game. That's what my mind and my stat sheet said. The Eagles should have won that game, and they came close, 38-35. But what were your takeaways from Super Bowl 57?
Yeah, Dave, I really have two. The first one, so I took away two things after kind of watching that game and digesting it now. The first one, I think Andy Reid now is one of the best to ever do it. I think he is now in one of the best coaches. I think he's moved down that list a little bit into that, for sure, in the top 10. But now I think his clock management sucks. I'm not a huge fan of the way they finished the first half. That defense holding him to a field goal and keeping him out of the end zone was probably one of the most game-changing plays. But what Andy Reid did in the second half was unbelievable. The play calling literally just sliced the Eagles apart. The Eagles defensive coordinator in Gannon, I mean, my God, was he exposed. And that guy's interviewing in Arizona right now. Like, yikes. Like he was exposed. Like, if I'm Arizona, I'm having a hard time after watching that game. I mean, the second half wasn't undressing from big plays to, red zone issues twice, like they're trying to stop the play, and you can just see it. Like, they're trying to stop the jet motion, like the play. They're actually not trying to stop like the actual concept and sticking within rules. And, but that's what I got. I just felt like Andy Reid after that one is one of the best play callers ever. And on top of that, you think about like what the Chiefs had to go through to get to that game, having to go through Cincinnati. Like, Philadelphia had like you could just put it on cruise control all the way through the NFC. But what the Chiefs had to do to go through that, and on top of that, like if you guys go back to the start of the year, like this was supposed to be like kind of like a down season for the Chiefs, right? Like they got rid of Tyreek Hill. They're trying to get their salary cap under control, and like they go out and win the Super Bowl. Like that's scary, right? Like and you said it with Mahomes, like those two together, him and Reid. Are unbelievable, but I think it's fair now, to put Andy Reid in one of the best of all time. I think you try to think here like Belichick, Lombardi, Walsh, Knoll, Parcells, Reid, somewhere in that top 10, right? Like I do, and so that was my first takeaway, and just what he did in the second half, and then the second thing I took away was actually on the losing team was how good Jalen Hurts is. I took that away. He is good. He is really good. I mean, here's a guy, like you go back and look at his career and from the benching in the championship game in Alabama to transferring to Oklahoma to coming into the league and having a lot of question marks of not sure he's got the arm strength, not sure if he can anticipate throws. And now you look at him and the way he handles himself, the way he carries himself, his character, like on top of what he did in the Super Bowl, right? But like he's got like he's like the outlier of like the really, really good quarterbacks, right? Like that's what they all have is that type of that type of character, that type of like X factor. And he's gonna get paid big time here, and rightfully so. But some of the throws that guy made, just wow. And I think Steve Spagnuolo of the Chiefs, like the Chiefs DC, like I didn't think he thought he could make those throws either. So I took away Andy Reid, one of the best ever now. And then I took Jalen Hurts away, and I'm like, that guy's going to be really good, and he's going to bring Philly back there.
I think largely I had the same takeaways here, fellas. I really did. Watching that game, and Matt, I know that we were down at the recovery room. Matt Ellens watching this guy throw a 40-yard bomb to A.J. Green in double coverage and putting it in a place where only A.J. Brown, I'm sorry, I said A.J. Green, where only A.J. Brown could catch that ball. We both looked at each other and said, whoa. This kid is really coming on. Let me ask you both as Bears fans, and Matt behind me, let me start with you, and then we'll go to you. Do you think that Jalen Hurts could be the best possible comp for Justin Fields? Matt E.
Well, one, I think he's got a great chance. I mean, his trajectory is only going to go higher. They came out and said that he had the second highest fantasy football points ever of all time, next to Steve Young. Obviously, he's got the talent. Can he get there? Yes, but there's so many quarterbacks going in that direction, whether it's Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. The NFL is going to be fun to watch no matter what, with all these guys coming out and playing, as long as they're healthy.
So, Matt, Janus, do you think that's a fair comp? Is it like, is this like the best version of what Fields could possibly be, right? Like, is Jalen Hurts, if everything works out for the Bears, the best version of what Fields could be?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, if you look at Justin Fields, like I think he's got that kind of character ability too. Like he's got kind of that same, type of work ethic. He's going to play really, really hard. I think he's got those leadership capabilities, but the difference is the Bears have nobody around that guy. Like the Bears got to Philly did such a good job of putting pieces around Jalen Hurts to help him. And Serini, like he's a good play caller too now. Like they do some good jobs. They play to his strengths. And so as you look at the Bears, you certainly hope they can put the pieces around him so that you can get to that level that Hurts got to.
Yeah, Coach, I was going to say it's going to come down to coaching and talent. And obviously he has to work on his arm throwing and his accuracy, but Fields, it's just tremendous upside as well. And I don't know, hopefully the Bears get out of the bottom of the pit that they've been in for the last couple of years.
Well, one thing that may really alter how the Eagles' fortunes unfold, and I know that this is not necessarily breaking news in the moment, but we started hearing about it last night, and Matt Ellens was making mention to me, is the offensive coordinator for Philadelphia, Shane Stitchen has now been hired as the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts.
Yep.
So now there's going to have to be a new offensive play caller, I would suppose, for Jalen and that Eagles team. But the Eagles have done a couple of things, fellas, that really impressed me. They've drafted all the players that started for the Super Bowl team. They've got 2 first-round picks coming up in this year's draft. Like, they can replace for cheap some of the talent that they may have to lose, because they're going to have to pay Hurts. They're going to have to pay that kid at some point. He's going to be worth the money. All right, final salvo, Matt, because I know that this is I don't know if it's a necessary one-to-one comp, but we're talking Fields, we're talking Hurts. You've got a kid in Max Helterbrand that does have some similar type skill sets as both of those dudes. He was the third leading rusher in the WIAC last season. His arm also really looked like it improved as the season went on. He started to make some throws by the end of the season. I'm like, this dude's putting the ball on a string, and it's really getting there. Are we going to see, as an Eagles fan base, a lot more of like the Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields type, quarterbacking this upcoming season? Because last year it was split between Cade and Helterbrand. So you kind of went back and forth. Like, what are we thinking about this year?
Yeah, I mean, we're so excited about what Kaiser brings to the table. We are, and not just as a quarterback, but as a runner too. I mean, that dude is fast. He's strong. He's almost impossible to tackle. He was first team all-purpose WIAC for a reason. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's his job at this point, and we're excited about what we brought into that room as well, and where that room's developing to. We brought in Zach Weir over the offseason, who was a Division I transfer at Eastern Illinois, played a few games down there, and he's transferred in now, and he's starting to get settled and working with our guys here. And then the guys that we recruited in terms of Riley Warzinski out of Stevens Point, and to see what his kind of change is from year 1 to year 2, and then obviously Austin Larson and Aiden Larson from Vermont, Alaska, and the knowledge that those guys have of our defense, of our offensive system here. So we're really excited about that room, really excited where it's at. And obviously Kaiser's gonna be the leader now as he goes into his senior year. And I'll tell you what, that guy is he got his ACL surgery right during our playoff game, right before a playoff game, and he's running right now. I've never seen a guy try to rehab and recover like this. It is freakish. He is that's all he's doing. Like, he is just hell bent on getting himself ready, and he is busting his butt. He's going all over heck to get rehab, to do work. It's just really kind of fun to watch him. Not fun. It sucks the situation that he's in, but it's fun to watch his drive and his desire to get back on that field with his teammates.
Now, I'm stoked, because I tell you what, if you had Kaiser in that playoff game, I think you guys probably win it. I really do. I think you guys probably win that thing. And it's, if he was able to really go and do that, that that thing that he does when he's able to shimmy and shake and get out. And he, again, is a big dude, like you've mentioned, really powerful runner. All right, we're stoked again to, continue talking Eagles football next week. I'm going to be curious to see which of the quarterback dominoes fall here. Matt, I want to see what happens with the Raiders and Carr. We know that he's going to get released by today. They don't want to pay him $40 million guaranteed. He's not going to make it easy for him and accept the trade. So he's going to be out. And who knows, maybe Rodgers emerges from darkness and tells Pat McAfee something really insightful. But I'll look forward to chopping it up with you next week. Thanks again for always being such a great part of the show. We love having you on, man, and go Eagles.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Go Eagles.
Go Eagles.
Preferred Insurance is the official auto, home, business, flood, and life insurance agency of the Sports Carnival, serving folks in La Crosse and surrounding areas with licenses in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. As an independent insurance agency, Preferred Insurance is free to find the very best insurance for you, your family, or your business needs. Call my friends at Preferred Insurance today and set up a free consultation. Remember, working with an independent agency means Preferred Insurance works for you, with you, to find the best solutions at the best prices.
Do you have a wedding, anniversary party, or bat mitzvah coming up in your life? Then you need Hey Duda DJ Services, featuring Neil Duda, the Midwest Eminem.
No doubt about it, I'm done hammered, and that's every day. Brains are cloudy, dog.
Dropping sick beats while you enjoy your treats. No party is too big or too small. Quinceañeras, graduations, ice cream social, or cocktail parties. Whatever the celebration, Hey Duda is rocking the foundation.
Here we go again, back with all our friends. Here comes the pain.
Neil Duda.
And welcome back, Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, which likes to remind you that getting your insurance from a guy like Tony or Brian at Preferred Insurance is actually the best way to do it, because they are an independent insurance agency that, they get the best rates from all of the big carriers. So if you're thinking about making an insurance switch, go with Preferred Insurance downtown La Crosse. And I know the fellows are actually in the process of opening up another branch. If you've got any legal issues, family, bankruptcy, the O'Neill Law Firm, 5th Street in downtown La Crosse. Sean O'Neill, good friend of mine, great friend of the show, has helped me out in a couple of situations where I've needed some advice, and Sean has been, awesome with all of his advice and his recommendations. Again, family law, bankruptcy, Sean O'Neill, the O'Neill Law Firm, and of course, Joe's Helping Hands Landscaping. Matt, if you've got snow removal needs, dog poop removal needs, which we know some people that live around here, Nash, that just throw the fuck up every time a dog poops. Joe can maybe help this stuff out by coming and collecting some of your poop. Also, snow removal. Listen, it's going to be beautiful here today in the Cooley region with respect to our temperatures, but we are anticipating a really big rainstorm coming through later today. I'm just glad it's not a snowstorm, because that'll come. I know we're in fake spring right now, so we'll get back to hardcore winter, but when that snow piles up too high and you don't want to have to deal with it, that's what you call Joe's Helping Hands Landscaping for. And I'm just throwing that out there. I know we use a guy, but this is another local part of the program here.
Well, and hopefully you pick up your dog shit before it rains, because otherwise it gets really fucking messy.
Well, I do.
Yeah.
But again, I've got a stomach, I can take it. I also have to clean out a cat box, and
Yeah,
I
there
don't
you go.
throw up all over my floor either. And Nash knows I love him, but apparently he's got like the weakest gag
Oh, he
reflex
does.
in the entire
He
world.
does.
So he picks up dog poop and he just fucking spews
Yep,
everywhere.
It's a true story.
All right. Well, not inside the bar. That's where Nash holds it down. It was fun last night playing bingo, and I can't remember who it was, but they saw Nash and they just got all excited. Like, oh my God, I've come here just to see you. And Nash said, all right, what can I get you? And then, began to be Nash once again. There was not a lot of pomp or circumstance surrounding it.
It's pretty straight to the floor.
That's Nash.
Yep.
That's Nash. All right. We've got a couple of poll questions here, Maddie, on our Facebook group page, as well as our Twitter feed at the Sports Carney. Facebook group page is the Sports Carnival. If you're not yet a member, love to have you be a part of that. The poll question on our Facebook group page, because it is Valentine's Day and James Jacobson, a.k.a. Boone's Farm, said it's also Singles Awareness Day. What would be the best Valentine's Day gift for a Wisconsin sports fans? You've got the options of Packers tickets, Bucks tickets, Brewers tickets, Badgers tickets to any sport, or the ability to forget that the Packers, Badgers, and Brewers might all miss the postseason. I got to be honest. I thought we would see more votes coming in for the ability to forget those teams might miss the postseason. The Bucks right now are winning this poll convincingly. 50% of respondents say they want Bucks tickets, 15% for the ability to forget, 10% for Badgers tickets, 20% for Packers tickets. Now, this doesn't exactly bode well for the Brewers, who begin their regular season in a month or so, month and a half. Only 5% of respondents actually want the Brewers tickets.
I'm not surprised on that. I guess the Brewer season goes forever. I would enjoy a great day in Milwaukee in the summertime. Obviously, who wouldn't? But to me, Janus is still the answer. I think that's why everybody's going with the Bucks.
That's fair.
How can you say no to Janus?
Well, that is fair. And coming up tonight, the Milwaukee Bucks are going to be back in action. As a matter of fact, Milwaukee's got a big game coming up against the Celtics tonight, 6:30 p.m. It'll be nationally televised. So if you don't have Bally Sports Network, which who knows, maybe nobody's going to fucking have here pretty soon, then you don't have to worry about missing the game. 6:30 p.m. TNT. Jay Crowder, who has been newly acquired by the Milwaukee Bucks, guys and gals, will not debut with Milwaukee until after the All-Star break.
I didn't realize he hasn't played all year.
No, they've been keeping him. The Phoenix Suns have been keeping him on the shelf because the anticipation was that they were going to trade him. I have no idea why Phoenix really didn't play him. I didn't hear that he was rehabbing some horrible injury. I just heard that they were trying to keep this guy
healthy, I believe.
Yeah, keep him healthy and away from the team so that they could find a suitable trade partner. But he has been confirmed to be out until after the All-Star break. There's only 2 games left. The Bucks right now are on a really nice 10-game winning streak, and they'll be looking to go for their 11th. There is a possibility. Was talking to Evan the other day, and he was texting me that Jason Tatum doesn't suit up tonight. If that is the case for Boston, then obviously the Bucks should be looking to score a victory here. The game is at home. The Bucks are currently 9-point favorites, and yet Jason Tatum is listed as day-to-day. Marcus Smart is out. Robert Williams is day-to-day. Grant Williams is day-to-day, and Malcolm Brogdon, former Buck, is also listed as day-to-day. For the Bucks, Bobby Portis is out. Pat Connaughton, Janus are listed as day-to-day. But like I've mentioned, the Bucks' 9-point favorites right now suggests to me that Janus will play, Middleton will play, Holiday will play, and that Jason Tatum most likely will not. Otherwise, this matchup should be a lot closer on the spread.
Well, I think hopefully Milwaukee shows up. I guess I'm not really trying to cut you off from that. I guess I think I'm going to go on betusa.com later today and see if there's a bet on there to see if Greg Gard loses his job tonight if the Badgers lose to Michigan.
That's interesting. So that's a tough prop bet. I don't know if they would get that specific
Probably
with us.
Not. But, it's a tough looking season, like we were talking about earlier, for the Badgers, whether or not they're going to get in or not. And obviously, the Bucks have a little ways to go still for the end of the season.
Yeah, the Bucks are going to be just fine, right? Like Milwaukee is already 39-17 with a record of 23-5 at home. Celtics are currently 41-16. This game tonight,
This is going to be a good game.
This is going to be a big one. If Milwaukee wins, of course, that puts them at 40-17. Boston would be 41-17, so just a half a game ahead of Milwaukee for the number 1 spot in the NBA's Eastern Conference. Listen, while we're talking about it, let me just go ahead and say this about the Badgers. I do believe that somehow, some way, some shape, some form, they find a way to get into the NCAA tournament. There's something about me deep down that believes that happens, but I did make a friendly wager with Matty Ice at the Recovery Room a couple of Mondays ago on Bingo Monday about the Badgers making the postseason. He is adamant they will not, and I think I bet him $5 or $10 that they will make it. I am starting to become doubtful of my own prediction. I really am.
They got a big couple of games. They still have Purdue. They have Michigan, I believe, tonight. And it's not looking very good for Wisconsin and for Greg Gard especially.
Well, and I don't know that Greg Gard's going to necessarily be in trouble, but if the Badgers miss the postseason, that could really be a turning point. And I think about the Luke Fickell situation now, the head coach of the Badgers football team, and how Paul Chryst, to me, didn't feel like a coach that was in jeopardy. And then look what happened. They fired the dude in season. So Wisconsin, Michigan tonight, you're right. That's going to be a big one. ESPN2 is going to be carrying Wisconsin at Michigan. Game is going to tip off at 8 p.m. If you're looking to go to the game in Madison at the Kohl Center, guess how low tickets are for tonight's game?
I could only imagine, man.
$3.
Really?
You can get tickets for as little as $3 tonight at the Kohl Center if you want to go support the Wisconsin Badgers. I, again, have a hard time believing they're not going to make the actual March Madness tournament, but this year in sports has been all sorts of topsy-turvy. Now, let me go to our other poll question, Matt, while we've still got a minute or two here left on the Sports Carnival. Again, at The Sports Carney is our Twitter feed. If the Packers do move on from Aaron Rodgers, which I mentioned to Matt Janus, the dominoes might start falling like today. Derek Carr is going to be out of Vegas. Rodgers is going to emerge from the darkness and go on the Pat McAfee show. If the Packers do move on from Rodgers, how many games will they win next season? Under 6, nobody's voting for. 6 to 8 gets 40% of the vote. 8 to 10 gets 45%, and 10 plus gets 15% of the vote. So we still have a large portion of you feeling that this Packers team is still going to be competitive. And I got to be honest, if they have Jordan Love under center and he runs the offense the way it's supposed to be run, and the Packers are able to put a couple of pieces around him through free agency or through the draft, I think they'll largely be in that 8 to 10 category too. They won't be the worst team. They won't be the best team, but they should still be competitive. I believe the roster is talented enough that they should still be competitive.
I agree with you on that. I guess the other thing that we need to take into consideration, the Lions are going to be better. The Bears should be better.
It's fair.
And the Vikings still should be about the same. So I don't know if they're going to sweep the division or go maybe one for each, maybe 4-4, but you got to start in the division. You got to win games in the division if you're going to go to 6 to 8 to 10 wins.
Yeah, and the Lions are going to be really good. I think the Bears could buy a team that they've got $120 million in cap space and the number 1 pick in the draft. So you're right. This is going to be interesting. And by the way, the Vikings, I know they suck in the playoffs, but that's a really good regular season team.
Yep.
They're a good regular season team.
Don't show up in prime time like you never do, Kirk Cousins.
Exactly.
So
just keep being Kirk Cousins for us all.
Exactly.
All right, boys and girls, thanks so much for participating on the show today. Thanks to Matt Janus, head coach of the Eagles, and of course, my new sidekick back here, Matt E. from the Recovery Room. Again, come see us starting at 11. We got some great lunch specials. Again, Valentine's Day tonight. If you're wanting to celebrate Singles Awareness Day, I'll pour you a couple of beverages too, extra strong. We'll see you guys in the morning here on the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios.